Tell me when we're live so I'm not scratching.
We're going live now. Thanks for tuning in to Try 5 Talk with your host, Daniel, Craig, and Joe, as they spend the next hour talking with special guests and talking tech and tips. We are back live this week, live on Try 5 Talk. We are here with Robin Roberts from No Prep Kings. And you may have known him from years past, where he did have the fastest street Pontiac in the country. How are you tonight, Robin?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining us. So for those who don't know, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm guessing to start with, I grew up in a little town in western Kansas, 500 people. My dad was from a little town of 50 nearby there, and I went back. So they moved to Wichita when I was a little kid, then separated, and I spent a few years there. Went back out to western Kansas where I grew up. Like I said, a very small town where, you do everything. So my dad owned service stations. We helped local farmers. We helped local ranchers. We did a lot of different things. I just learned everything that I could about cars and had a real passion for mechanical things. And so grew up playing football, basketball, normal small town stuff. We had more deer in the county than people.
Isn't that kind of normal for any small?
Yeah. So
what kind of cars did you have growing up?
So my dad, the Trans Am that I raced, you'll see that most people know that car. That was a family car that they had bought. It had been in the family since new. I think my uncle bought it, and then my dad and stepmom bought it, and they owned it forever. And so that car was one of the original ones. And my first, we'll tell the story probably in a little while of why I got into this, but riding in the back seat of that car on the way to I remember one time riding in the back seat of that car on the way to softball practice, and gosh, or softball game. I couldn't have been 12, 14 years old. My dad, 130 miles an hour, as fast as that car was going. I'm sitting in the back right rear seat when it blew a tire and right under me, and we get slowed down on the side of the road. And I forgot all about that till I took that car home, and I built that myself. I put a 4-link in it, did all the paint, body work, everything myself. And I'm cleaning off the back corner panel. And I was like, what the hell happened here? About 5 minutes later, it hit me. Oh yeah, I was sitting in the car when that happened. So, that car's been in our family forever, and it was kind of the passion. My dad was a Pontiac guy. My first car was actually a Mopar, a 72 Challenger. So,
oh really?
Just really lack of options is why I got a Challenger. But back then you couldn't find a car the way you do today. You'd search on the internet and find thousands of cars everywhere. Well, we had local papers, right? I'm an old guy. So I found in the paper a 72 Challenger. I'd saved some money and went up and looked at it. And first, before I went and looked at it, I opened a Hot Rod magazine and saw one and remembered that's the car from Vanishing Point, which I love that old movie. I love all them old car movies. So went up, looked at the car, liked it, bought it. My dad made fun of it the whole time. He hated Mopars. He was a Pontiac guy, but that car was good to me and got me started.
So you had a copy of Hot Rod magazine. So that it sounds like hot rodding was kind of already in there. Like before you even got into your Challenger, you were already kind of interested in it.
Oh yeah, I had I said that was my first car. My actual first vehicle was a Chevy pickup. I worked all summer to save the money to buy it from, my dad took me down to an old lady had it and it didn't run. Brought it home, rebuilt the carburetor in the sink. My mom was not proud.
We've all been there.
Got it all cleaned up, put it back together, got it running, and that was my high school truck. And then my first car was the 72 Challenger.
Right on. So this was kind of, were you working at the time, kind of entry level stuff?
No, I was just a kid. That's the early. Then I went to college, actually ended up at Texas A&M, and then started a career. But I decided I needed to get a fresh start somewhere. I had bigger dreams. I'm from a smaller town, and so I had bigger dreams. And Protection, Kansas, or Inglewood, Kansas. Those little towns could really give you. And so, we loaded up. I moved to Phoenix, Arizona, where I lived for 23 years. It's where all my street race buddies really are from, because that's where I got started there. So I moved out to Phoenix, started a career with a company. I started rebuilding mining engines, big trucks, like 400-ton dump trucks. You see them, they're big as houses.
All right.
12 foot
Are these
tall
those like
tires.
natural gas powered ones, the ones that go in the mine,
No.
or are these the big
They're
earth
diesel
movers?
for sure. They're just giant trucks. And so I was rebuilding engines in those and just worked my way up in the company. I was kind of lucky. It was a company that had, a lot of locations so I came from building mining engines to managing a shop to sales to running a branch, VP, president of operations, chief operating officer of a company with 33 locations and 1,000 employees, had a private jet at my access. So I just did really well. And then 7 years ago, we got mad at each other and I came over here and bought Central Power Systems. So that's how I got to Kansas City. That's a long story of my career around to maybe who I am. But I skipped all the kids stuff and things that happened in between. But
we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
So Central Power Systems is your company. You're the CEO, CFO. You're the chief cook and bottle washer. Or do you kind of take more of a passive role now to the business?
No, I run it. So we have CFO, chief operating officers, and all that. I've transitioned and grown. I've done everything in the company, this type of company, and now it has transitioned some to where my role now is to buy businesses, build businesses, kind of lead teams that do the things that need to be done. I think that, you come up to a role like mine, and what you learn is that your role is to do everything, but not do anything. Like everything has to get done, but you're not the person who does it. And so you're leading teams and making things happen. But it transitions into where there's a whole bunch of dealing with banks, securing money, building teams and operations in other cities where you're the liaison, the spark that has to make those things happen. Just a lot of stuff, and building depth into the guys that work for me, and making sure I'm connected with a bunch of, we have 400 people, so 200 of those are technicians, and I love them to death. So I like to spend time with them and make sure they know that we appreciate them as a company. It's just so many layers of things to do as a CEO that it takes a long description.
What's so impressive to me right now is I feel like I'm having an interview with like Carl Icahn or someone. Like, we're talking business, but you also have an extremely successful race
like
program.
He's a good leader. You good opportunity to hang out and learn how guys like this work. Sorry, carry on.
Like, no, it's blowing my mind because I'm completely engrossed in this, this business, discussion. And oh yeah, you also have one of the fastest race programs out there.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of an interesting way for me to live. I often tell people, like, I've lived every life there is to live. I was born and raised, in very humble circumstances. Spent time, I told you about the time I grew up in grade school in Wichita, where lived very poor lifestyle there with 10 other kids in a basement, to small town life, to, big college life, small college life, small company, big company. I've kind of done it all. And so to hear you say something like that really, really, to me, warms my heart, because I've done so many things, and it allows me to kind of have boxes in my life where I have church life and work life and race life and these things. And I don't know, I'm very blessed. I can kind of do whatever I want, and that's a blessing.
Well, I think your pedigree kind of shows that fact pattern, up to this point. It's really, I'm excited to see what's in the future, because it doesn't sound like anything stopped you before. There was one of those boxes that you just mentioned that I kind of want to touch on. I want to, you mentioned your family. You mentioned growing up with some brothers and sisters. Do I understand that right? But you also have a big family yourself now.
Yeah, I have a little brother and a much younger sister. I came home one time from college and said, "Is that what I think it is?" And I was like, yeah, we're having another. So, it was a surprise to everyone. But yeah, I have, we have 7 daughters. We now have 8 grandchildren. The 9th one should be out. I think she's due to tomorrow. So we're rolling
What's
them
it
in.
like in the house?
That is a lot of
with,
tuition.
Yeah, I got two grandkids in the house now.
What's it like in the house with that many women?
It's a sea of estrogen. If
If
you're
When he steps
emotionally, if you're not
outside,
emotionally connected, you're about to become. It's a crazy environment, and we're blessed now. I'm an empty nester, so we're down to one kid who's basically a college student. We have a rule in our house: you're either a rent payer or a student. So as soon as they're done being either, we push them out like mama birds that push the baby bird out of the nest and make them fly. But we're down to one in the house, and they all come back. They live pretty close, except for two. 6 of the grandkids live really close. So we have a lot of joy and a lot of time with them when we're not racing.
Now, are they all Aggies?
Awesome.
It's crazy. Huh?
Where'd they all go to school? Are y'all an Aggie family, or is it just kind of everywhere?
No one followed in my footsteps. So they
Is that
all
a good
went,
thing or a bad thing?
Actually, I think it's really great. They have my wife was a professional singer for many years. She sang for Barack Obama's inaugural ball. Trump hired her for his birthday. I mean, she's done a lot of great stuff. And so her kids sang. They have some very talented singers in the group, which is, I can't do anything like that. So, they wanted to do the things that I didn't. So we have a nurse, we have a physical therapy assistant. We have my one daughter works for me and is our recruiter for our company. So she spends a lot of time in trade schools and stuff. I've got a daughter out in Arizona that runs, or basically leads the sales department for parts at a big truck dealership. They've kind of scattered and done different things, but they were like me. I went to Texas A&M, but I didn't finish at A&M because I didn't have the patience at school at that age. I had to grow up.
And what year were you at
Late
A&M?
bloomers. Huh?
What year were you at A&M?
I've been 88, 89, 90.
And what were you majoring in?
Distribution management.
Okay, right on. Yeah, well, the buildings haven't changed. Blocker Hall is still just as decrepit as it was
Oh yeah.
back then. So
yeah,
but good school. That's one of my schools. So I'm a little partial there.
I like it.
That's a lot of work. Not just with kind of growing up, kind of below the median, and then building your family, building your program, building your business. That's just where do you find the energy to do that, or does it come naturally? How tired are you?
I always tell people I don't sleep, and it's kind of true. Like if I sleep 5 hours, that was a good night. So we just I don't know. It feels to me, I think everyone's different. It feels to me like I don't get much done. Like sometimes I should get this done, should get that done, and I'm behind. But on the other hand, I think if it measured other people, Melody and I are both just very energetic people who make things happen. We're always doing something. It's rare for us to sit. It's maybe a little bit crazy, but that's just who we are.
Well, speaking of moving, go ahead.
Go ahead. You're the full-time businessman as well as a racer. Yeah. What's it like running the business, and how you started? Running the business, you're gone from the business, for NPK or Fastest in America or whatever. What's it like, running the business and being away for so much,
Well, I think I couldn't have done this 5 years ago. I for sure couldn't have done it 10. Here's kind of how buying the company, owning the company, spending the first 2 years building a team under me that can do what needed to be done, and then transitioning to where now, and I'll also say this, like COVID taught us something. Blessing to me in that what COVID taught us is that you can do what you need to do and almost not be there. Like you just have to be accessible. So man, these Zoom calls and things like that have just changed life to where, we go on the road, and Tara is Alan Brufloat's wife, who's a team member. She goes with us on all these trips. She is working from the road. She can sit there and do her podcast Zoom calls her Zoom calls and team calls and things and do what needs to be done on the road. And I can too. It's just been an incredible blessing that the world has chosen that, one, this is acceptable. I think even if you go back 5 years ago, it wasn't acceptable not to meet in person. And now it's just normal.
Well, yeah,
So
that's
freed
with
up a lot
everything
of
that's
time.
gone on, that's kind of what happens. It makes with the way the world is today, everything is kind of, let's be a little bit separated, a little bit apart. And, we're such a culture that's used to everything being in person.
This is what gets me is this kind of goes back to that, never taking your foot off the gas attitude. As soon as like the business became standalone and kind of turnkey, the cameras turned on. It's like, there, you didn't even miss a beat. You kept yourself busy like the whole time. It's very impressive. I struggle to, get up and get groceries sometimes. So this is motivating to hear.
Oh, well, thank you. I don't even think about it. It's just who I always was. I don't understand it. Maybe it's too intense to, you get some pushback from your daughters is like, Dad, why are you pushing us? Or why are you? And the answer is, well, I just want more for them. I want them to have the drive, but the truth is they got to find their own way. And I had to learn that. I had to learn how to be patient with my girls and realize they're going to be their own people. And that's sometimes really hard because what you want for them and what you think you see, you kind of got to lead them to it. You can't push them to it. And I think that's, I've told people before when they ask those questions, like I've lived through 7 14-year-old daughters, and so have they. And the first 2 were maybe questionable because I wasn't nearly patient enough. My oldest daughter really got the brunt of that. And then as I learned, it was like, I'm going to try a different way. And it's easier. Maybe it's just easier for me, but it just turned out to be a lot easier to let
collecting data, revising.
Yeah, let them, let them be who they are at 14, and they're gonna, they push back on everything you do, and they're not pushing back on you. They're just trying to find their own way, and be able to patiently let them find that way, but kind of guide them. Took a bit for me to figure out.
Are you in the process of writing a book or anything? Because I think you should be.
Yeah, actually, I have a couple started. It's funny you'd ask that, but yes, it's.
I didn't mean to blow the top off
someday.
that, but yeah, okay. Sign me up for a pre-order on that because I'm already inspired. But speaking of kind of new ventures, we understand you have a new car.
I do.
Are you allowed
Can we get
to
some
talk
details
about it?
on it, or is it kind of like I'll break anybody's hand who lets any information out on it?
It's your standard 4-wheel affair.
Yeah, well, part of the deal with the builder was, hey, nobody sees the car, nobody takes pictures, and they adhered to that. And then we've kind of moved it around a couple places, and those people have been respectful too and have kept it quiet. It's not like we're trying to sneak anything out. It's more like I just want it to be a big surprise. Like we've spent a year and a half, even before we spent a year thinking about what we ought to do. Then we spent a year and a half building it. And RJ Race Cars built it. And I love those guys to death. They did a fantastic job. They're not fast, but everything you get is like perfect. And so I think anyone else would have probably built it in half the time, but maybe not as good. And so, we were just patient with the process.
Well, quality in the build. I mean, that's always, top priority. And if it takes longer to get quality, then, so be it. Right.
It's that Kaizen.
Yep. Uh-oh. You there, Robin? Did we lose Robin there?
I think just briefly, I'm hyped up. I didn't know the car was still under wraps and like no one's seen it.
And nobody's seen anything about it, which, I mean, that's okay. Cause keeping it hidden and keeping it secret, sometimes that's more, keeps more interest in the vehicle. And when it does come out, people look to, find out more information about it and see what's going on with it.
Yeah. I feel like that's it becomes harder and harder to do, the longer you do it, as more people find out that it's a secret, then they really want to know. It's like,
oh yeah,
that one.
It builds up the anticipation.
Yeah. When someone knows something's a secret, they're going to actively pursue trying to get it, even if they don't really care that much in the first place. But
oh yeah. Which which that just makes it, that much more when it does come out, makes it that much more, like, oh, wow, what is this? So
I've got a few questions about it, Robin,
Yeah.
and feel free not to answer anything, but I'll try to keep it general. The new car, does it address problems, or are you trying new things?
Well, so the other car wasn't built to do what we were doing with it.
Okay.
It was built to be a drag week car. It was never built to run 380s. We had to cut stuff out and put billet pieces in it. No offense to the guy who built it. That's not what they were going to do with it. So I think we just came to the limitation, and it's a true VIN car. High voltage is a true VIN car. It's got a full dash.
Is that the name of the car?
So that means it's got,
Is that the name of the car?
The old car is high voltage. So it's got 40 pounds of dash stuff in it that you can't move. It's got all the inner in the headliner and stuff like that, because it was built as a VIN. It was built back in, if you remember the early No Prep Kings and other rules, you had to have a VIN car. Well, it is that, but that adds 80, 100 pounds that you just can't remove. And so it was part stepping up to a car purpose built to do what we wanted to do with it, and lighter. And so I gave RJ 3 goals: lighter, faster, safer. And so it was built around me. The previous car was built around someone who was 5'11", not 6'4". I'm 6'4", 240. So I'm a big dude.
So no fun books were needed for the Firebird?
No, but the new car is built around me. And so it's more comfortable, fits my head a little better, just things where, I got 7 daughters in the company. I kind of need to stay around a little while. So we want to keep it safe.
So when you were determining the scope of this car between the beginning and now, had the scope changed any from when you started? As far as like must-haves or anything on there?
No, I would say high voltage compromised certain things, and let me be clear, it was a compromise of budget, right? I mean, I only had so much at that time, and I'd committed. I just bought a company. I'd taken all my cash, dumped it into a business. Wasn't sure the business would go the way I thought, or things like that. I had ideas and believed it, but so I bought that car then. Well, the car has done now the business has done awesome. And so I was able to take this car and literally say, build me the car I want. So that's real.
Well, I'm even more excited now to see it. When are we going to be able to see it?
Well, out of curiosity, I did see a picture online the other day of some zoomies on the side of something. Yeah. So is that kind of like a teaser photo? Like,
I've been kind of just sneak peeking and teasing, and part of that is, it's kind of fun. But we're not quite done with the car. I just got it home. I got home last Friday night. So we got it home. We still have a little plumbing left to do. Still have some minor issues to just finish out in pieces that we're doing here. And we've been to RJ and been to other places and done some stuff ourselves to it too, but just needs the finishing touches. And then when it's done, and I've also, in all honesty, I'm kind of waiting for the No Prep King rules, because I don't want, here's my car, and then the rules not to, maybe that's too much something to worry about. But
you don't want to see the car that's had the advantage in the past year or two that a couple of people went to, and one of them may have won it with. You don't want to see that those advantages have gone away. Correct.
It's just, and maybe that's just me being a little bit conspiratorialist, but it's a nice car. When I show it, I want to be able to take people and walk them around the whole car and see it together. And there's still pieces that we're still putting together. So just little pieces like all the plumbing and fuel lines aren't done and systems not done. And so when it is, and when I'm ready, and when I think it's we've got enough interest and we kind of just feel like it, then we'll do a big reveal, and I want to do it right.
Awesome.
I'm excited.
With the new car, and I don't know if you asked us, Joe, were there some must-haves when the new car got built? I mean, you talked about the dash and the real VIN, and having the some of the headliner and stuff and all that in there. Was there any other must-haves that you had done on it,
or have nots?
Yeah, let me think about that. So I wanted it to look more factory than even that car did.
Okay.
So it's even more to OEM look. I wanted it to be lighter, so it's all carbon inside. Just spent a lot of thought process in getting it to be where it should be. I wanted just some things I needed to have done to it. It's hard to describe. I really wanted it to fit me. So the frame rails, taper. I'm like I said, I'm a big guy. There's a lot of length for me to get my legs in there and drive it.
How tall are you?
Just things like that.
6'4", I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 6'4", 240. So I'm not a normal guy to crawl in a car like that. I always say I don't get in the car, I put it on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The car
Kinda how
on.
it goes. Yeah.
So go ahead, Joe.
Oh no, that's just impressive that you're doing shaving bits and pieces from the car to kind of improve on what you had in the prior car. But do you have anything new, maybe equipment wise that is kind of a new venture for you, whether it's maybe a new fire system, or I don't know if you want to talk about the powertrain, but
Yeah, I can talk about that because you brought it up. We're going away from the turbos and going to the Hartz charger. That's a big deal.
Okay.
It's a centrifugal blower driven by the crankshaft. The popular one out is a Pro Charger, right?
Right.
So it's Hart's version of what would be a Pro Charger, and it's
okay.
We ran their turbos forever, and they're not forever, for the last couple of years. They're great people.
Right.
Very engineering driven company, smart guys. And, I listened to them we know how to fix those blowers. Like, well, then build one. Like, let's have one. Let's figure it out.
Well, yeah.
Because the Pro Chargers make a lot of power, but they've been prone to certain failures. And
isn't it like the gearboxes in them break or something?
I don't run one. I don't know enough of what fails on.
I mean, I'll interject. It is, but it's an issue. A lot of guys are forced to run them at 130%, of their recommended max RPM. You have to do that to be competitive. So you run into breaking parts. It's not really Pro Charger's fault. I mean, they've got bigger setups that work well.
I'm not blaming Pro Charger. I'm not knocking Pro Charger.
Shame
I got
on you.
nothing against those. I got one on my little Mustang.
Yeah.
It's all good.
No, they make great
Mustang.
stuff.
I ain't got nothing against them. It's just the Hartz guys are my buddies. They wanted to build one. I told them I'd run it. So here we go.
So it was their suggestion. They said, hey, this will be better.
Yeah, they said, we think we can do this. And I just kind of then prodded them, well, let's get it going. And so I'll run it. You guys get it going. And that was kind of the deal. So we'll figure it out. I think they'll figure it out.
Awesome. So how does Central Power play into your race program?
Well, here's the honest answer, right? The marketing budget is a great tax deduction.
Okay.
So I take this marketing budget and I put it into race cars and equipment, and we're able to go racing and do things that are really cool. But the really neat part is it fits exactly what we do. Like, I've got 200 technicians all over the United States, fixing generators, taking care of equipment, selling construction equipment, servicing construction equipment, and on-highway trucks, all kinds of stuff. So we need techs, we recruit techs, we need good people. We use the cars and the fact that we're on Street Outlaws to recruit. We use it to boost morale. I mean, the car itself and the way that we try and use the program is helpful to the company, and the company then gets to spend some marketing budget on super cool cars.
Oh, I love that, man. My firm sponsors a
go.
golf tournament, and that sucks. I want to sponsor a no prep car.
Well, it is by design. Just to give you a quick story on that. We had 4 daughters in high school, early college at one time. Probably been 2010, where, I just realized, look, I can't keep racing, putting the commitment, time, and everything it took to do what I was doing with the old Trans Am. So I stopped for almost 5 years. We just did airport races, screw around races. I spent time taking care of family, doing things like that. And I said, I'm going to set it up when I can financially do this the right way. When we're prepared, then we're going to do it again. And so I just had that mindset of, well, when this happens, when we own the business, we can do these things. And I learned how others did it, watched them. And so when I owned the company and we had a year of success under our belts and things were going the right direction, well, then I was able to step back into the sport and do it right. And it's not a, you know, I see people make it a, you know, I don't know, it'll sound like I'm talking on someone else and I'm not, but I know the people who race with their last dollar, right? And there are a few of them out there. It's not only in our sport, it's in every sport. I saw it in dirt tracks when I was a kid, you know, and I just didn't want to do that. And I'm blessed. I worked hard. I spent 30 years building a great career, and I don't have to. I can, you know, do it and have fun. And it's not worried. I'm not worried about, you know, if we can buy groceries tomorrow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's
and it's not living above your means. It's, you know, working with what you got and what you've been blessed with. And,
you know, that's the other part of it. I you know, at first when I first got this car, the one, you know, of high voltage, in all honesty, it was I'm just going to admit, I was a little bit embarrassed. It was a great car. And you get some people say, oh, I see the money. I was like, yeah, I know. Well, you know, just got to go racing. And then after about a year of that, I just said, you know, why are you apologizing for working hard? And so, you know, when I was under a mine truck, 16 hours a day, 5 days a week, when I was flying to China to spend 2 weeks courting a manufacturer to bring them over to be able to sell their products and make money, these people were sitting around watching TV and eating bonbons, right? So I set myself up for success. I'm not going to apologize to anyone for setting myself up to be successful, to be able to do what I enjoy. And so I just stopped.
Uh-oh. Oh, no.
I got it. No, that's.
Did he freeze up again?
Are we good?
Back? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Now we're back.
So when did the show start? How did you get your foot in the door there, or did someone grab your foot and pull it in?
Both. You know, I wanted to get a car. I wanted to get a big tire car and step up. And because of the Pontiac action, forever, first name is Pontiac Racer in magazines and in Hot Rod Magazine and stuff, I knew who Chief was. So we happened to have a get the PRI, and told him what I wanted to do. He told me where this car, you know, he told me about the guy who built this car, and I went, it was incredible for you. So I called and said, hey, I want to build a car. This is what I want. I told him everything. I want a 68 Firebird on a Promon chassis. And Terry Murphy said, I've got one. So I go over to his house. It's a fantastic car. I buy it, no drivetrain. He'd just gone through a divorce, so I was able to buy a car. And so knowing Chief and then knowing the other guys down there, we just started racing locally. And I helped some guys here in Kansas City put on a race, and did Monza and Dominator come up. So I got to know those guys. And it just was, you know, Reaper, you know, James Ode actually got knows Reaper. Just guys like this that you just get to know and enjoy and become friends with, and they're great people. And pretty soon it's like, come on. I was like, oh, let me race. Oh, come on. And so both of those things happen.
And so starting, you know, kind of moving up through, you know, Street Outlaws and everything did you find yourself, you know, pushing yourself harder to grow, or did it kind of come naturally to start succeeding in that world?
Well, so
what were some of the challenges over the past maybe 5 years that you've overcome to get where you are?
Well, I had to learn how to be a big tire guy. So we'd street raced and mainly small tire. And so I had to totally learn how to drive differently. The car was different. We had to learn how to tune it. We had to learn how to make it do what it was supposed to do. So really the first couple of years that you saw us doing things, we were learning. And it was a fast learning curve, a hard learning curve, but luckily I had Alan along with me, and he's brilliant. That guy can just do things. And between him and I, we just figured it out. And I mean, the hardest part to overcome was learning how to make the car do what we wanted it to do. And so I'd say it like this, like it takes three things to be great at sport. You gotta have the hardware. Sorry, but you do. You gotta have good stuff. But if you have good stuff and you don't know how to tune it, you're not gonna go anywhere. So you have to know how to tune
tuning, I think, plays a major portion into it. I think,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you can have the best parts in the world, and it
If you
still
don't got
doesn't work
Scott,
with
you're
the
not
hood.
going anywhere. That's
Right.
just how it is.
So hardware, tuning, can't do without either. You can't tune junk. You can't take great stuff and don't know how to tune it and race it. And then in no prep, a driver. Like this is a driver focused sport. You go to pro stock or something and all you do is hit the light and hit the gears, right? Car's going to go straight every time. You ever see them in the wall or anything? No.
I concur.
Pulls the chutes
This
for
is a
you.
different deal. You have to be able to drive it. And in all honesty, when I started driving the car, I wasn't great at it, but I learned fast. We learned fast. And now I can tell you I'm a very good driver. And that's not how I started out.
What were some areas of investment that you needed to make specifically for no prep, whether it be the car or the tuning or things like that? What were some of the big, oh shoot, we need to improve this quickly type of things?
Well, if you look at high voltage alone, it's gone through 3 drivetrains. So
Right.
It was a 800-inch nitrous motor. It run in the 420s. Well, and that wasn't good enough. We realized we're just never going to get there with this. We better do something different. I bought
How many kits of
481X.
nitrous does it take to go that fast?
Well, we had 5 on it. And so,
And how much did you spray? All of it?
Yeah, I don't even know if you could count it. Was at 1,500? It's a bunch, right? So
Right.
I bought a 481X, pair of turbos, get it together. Scott, actually, after some wrangling with the car, we have Scott come over and help us do some things and get it going.
I mean,
And
that's
then,
funny. I helped him for about 2 minutes with a small technical problem, but I was going to say the guy who learned the most was Alan. Alan, holy cow. That's an amazing story. I'll let you go ahead and keep going. Doing good.
Yeah. Alan's great. That's what I mean. Like he learned how to tune. I learned how to drive. I learned how to tune.
He went from 0 to awesome in about 10 minutes. I was really impressed.
I don't know about 10. It felt like 3 years to me, but
it was really maybe 6 months. There was a huge difference in 6 months. It was impressive.
Sure.
I teach people some of this stuff. Watching him go with it. I mean, now he's somebody I would ask for advice, but I was there the first time 3 years ago when he first time he looked at the software. Okay, how's this work? No problem. Just dug right in. Good stuff.
Yeah.
And obviously you guys have done well.
So 481X and twin turbos, we dropped that into place of nitrous. And then when we realized, okay, we got to go another level even, I bought a Hemi with a pair of turbos and we put that in and put the hearts on it. And that's what put us over the top. When we did that, we took that car and we this is no offense to all the tuners in the world, but I said, Alan, you got to be the guy. Like we just got to stop and just I'll do the chat, do the engineering, and have all these tuners around because you're fighting for them to come back or you're waiting in the staging lane up in 3 other cars. It's a total mess. We just had to work it. So we took the car with a Hemi, went to the track, and I'm not kidding you. 29 runs in a row, the car didn't go 300 feet. Alan's frustrated, I'm frustrated, but I'm not letting him, I don't want him to know that. So I'm like, it's okay, buddy, you get it. Chipping away at it. First pass, Armageddon, first test session, we're the 3rd car down because we want to get as many tests as possible. Bare ass track, haul ass. And that's when I knew, all right, I've got it, we're going to be okay. And we went on to do great in that event and many others, won 4 races in a row. We were big no prep around the country. 22, we the top 4 in mega cash days.
Did you have any challenges like that with the new car? 29 hits without any A to Bs?
God, I hope not.
Have you
I
started?
think we've learned the lessons,
Yeah, and I think that's huge. It's kind of it's a building on everything that you've learned. Have you run the car to any sort of material runs yet, or are you still kind of dialing it in?
The new one?
Yeah.
Oh no, it hasn't even started.
It hasn't even gone yet. Okay.
Nope, still plumbing it.
I'm even more excited now because,
Yeah.
ooh,
You get, you're wondering, the suspense and everything. You're wondering what's coming, but so excluding families and championship wins, what are other bright spots that you're proud of? With whether it's be with the no prep or with something that has come about.
I told my dad when I was a little kid, and I saw one of my street races. He goaded friends into racing. Benny Ming had a red Mustang, and his buddy Grubby Taylor had a purple Charger, and he goes them into racing in front of the house. Right. A few weeks later, I tell him, Dad, I'm going to build the fastest street car in America, and I'm going to prove it. And he said, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. So, to come back and now, a great achievement to me was to go to Mega Cash Days, where, you've got Doc saying, these are the rich track racers, and we whoop him and we whoop Chief. We whip the biggest guys on the street when they didn't know we were street racers, but they should have known because we street raced. That's all I ever did with the old Trans Am. So, or mainstay what I did. So,
and that Trans Am, what was your claim with that Trans Am?
Well, at the time, I always claimed it was the fastest street Pontiac on the planet. And at the time, it was true.
All right.
And we would take that to Phoenix, Arizona. Twice a year, they do a giant cruise. It's called the Central Cruise. Thousands of cars come out. And I would write on the back window, fastest street car here. And we would idle through, just idle around to everyone. No one challenged it. Everybody knew.
They knew it.
That was real.
What's your favorite track?
Darlington. I just have to say Darlington, man. I love that track. I love the way the stands are built into the side, and we're undefeated in the Carolinas. So if we go to a Carolina race, we win it.
What's the most challenging?
Does your love for that track happen to be because you won an NPK race there?
Yeah, a little bit of it. But we won no prep there earlier, like a year before that. We won NPK there. I just like that part of the world. I'm a small town guy, and so Darlington is not a town. It's just the middle of nowhere. I just like that track. There are many others that I like. It's hard to pin down. My favorite one growing up was Speed World. They closed it out in Arizona. That was my kids grew up there. They think that's where they should have got married and had prom.
So, now I forgot where I was going. I lost my train of thought.
That's okay.
Yeah, it'll come back.
Well,
he should talk about Melody a little bit. I don't know if anybody knows or not, but his wife is like an A-list vocalist. I was one of the people you call if you need to entertain a president. Right. If you've ever heard her sing the national anthem, it's awesome. Yeah. She's got pipes like crazy. And my parents forced me to take music all through school. So I have some appreciation for that. But anyway, carry on.
No, that's actually a great point. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about her and how multiple presidents, from what I understand.
Yeah, she is very talented, an incredible singer. She had a 25-year career before she finally decided she'd just sing in church and hang out with us. But, she did a lot of special things. She sang for Trump. Trump hired her her group for his birthday, Barack Obama's inaugural ball, the first one. I get questions about that. And the answer is, if you get paid, you go.
Yeah. Right.
So she did a Clinton fundraiser. She's got a great picture of Clinton with his arm around her, and I always ask her, "You sure he doesn't have his hand on your butt?" So she sang for Bush, and those are just names that you would know. Governors and like basically, if you had a fancy ball where you wanted someone to really come in and do like old classic standards and things like that, that's what she did, and she was just great at it.
Is there anywhere we can go to? Is there anywhere where you can go to kind of hear or see that, maybe on YouTube or something?
Yeah, I wouldn't know where. She retired about 5-6 years ago, really.
Oh, nice.
And that's when the YouTube and everything else started to take off, right? So she missed the window on that.
Well, It's still that's still very impressive. It sounds like there's a ton of winners in your family.
No,
But
she's impressive for sure.
So
She's way cooler than I am. Once you meet her, you forget about me.
now that I remember what I was going to ask you,
Sure.
Going back to that point in time when you won NPK,
Yeah.
how fast, without giving too many details, how fast were the cars at that point in time? And then there's actually local to me, no prep racer and organizer Joey Heichel is his races. They're actually going to leave the clocks on for that now. What are your thoughts about that?
I just feel like no prep came from the street work race and just graduated the track, and what we learned was you get races when you go to the track, and it was you're always running. I was hiding or ducking, or I raced a lot of races and raced a lot, and they were always chicken to ratio or trying to cheat some way. That's just street racing. So I'm just going to say there's an episode coming in a few weeks, and I'm just going to have no morals when you street race. Okay, that's the only place where I don't. At the track, here you go. It's a different deal. But if it's a graduation of street to then we don't need to know the times. You just need to know who won. And I actually rather run a flat race with a tire crack. Else. I hate to lie to Instagram, but you do it because that's what it is. So I'm not a fan of turning the clocks on. But you asked how fast. I don't think it's that big to just say bottom 80s.
Bottom 80s. Okay. So that's pretty quick at that, and that was what, 2-3 years ago?
Fast. No, that was last year on an unprepped track.
Last year? Okay.
No prep. Yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, that's pretty cool. That's actually really, really fast, actually. I mean,
I'm sitting there. I hope people don't think that like they were slower back then, because that's still extremely fast.
Oh no, that's hooking it. I mean, that's pretty fast pass.
It's a perfect.
Oh yeah, especially on a no prep track. I mean, that's really cooking.
3,000 pounds.
How's that?
I mean, our rule is 3,000 pounds. 3,000 pounds to go that fast.
That's cooking. That's cooking.
So we've covered a lot of no prep and racing, but what do you kind of do in your free time when it's not, if you even have free time? Well, I mean, I'm sure. When did you get your pilot's license? When's your next? When are you going to the moon? Like, you gonna get into like cross country sailing?
Thing. Yeah. Well, I like. If you said, "What's your next sport?" I love to fish. I don't do enough of it, but I love fishing and I love bird hunting. Mons and I went pheasant hunting last year. I just like that kind of stuff. I grew up fishing and bird hunting, so those are joys for me. I teach in church a lot. I spend a lot of time prepping for that, and teaching Bible studies is fun for me. That's something that I just really enjoy. I enjoy taking someone who doesn't know why or what to believe in, or maybe needs to deepen their faith and take them on a journey. That's just a lot of fun for me. So
let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Let's talk about the church. We kind of understand that you have your own church. Have you always been a man of God, or is there, at some point in time where, you were young and you weren't a Christian and in the church family, and God, led you, had a revival moment or whatnot?
I think I had an opposite experience of most. When I was a young kid, I told you about growing up rough and under a single mother who got into things she shouldn't have. And I was a young boy in that area. And the honest answer is I only knew one good man in my life, and that was my grandfather. And the only thing I knew about my grandfather is that he was a Baptist and he loved Jesus. So I would get up, this was the 70s, right? I would get up on Sunday morning while everyone else was passed out or whatever, and go out front, and you get on the little Baptist buses that would come around and take you to church on Sunday morning, and I would go. So I always just had a great experience around that. And then later in life, in my teen and 20s or whatever, I kind of didn't follow the way I should have. And I kind of see it like, everyone goes through waves and they figure things out. I came back to it as getting my life right and figuring some things out. And then the honest answer is, hey, I'll admit and fully say I'm a Christian, but I'm not perfect. I see Christian as people who are trying to be better than they were yesterday by following God's plan, but they're not. Like the Bible is full of every example of man that's shown as someone who was broken and didn't do things right. David was called the man after God's heart, yet David did things that none of us have done. I mean, we haven't taken someone's wife and had them killed. David did and was still called the man of God. So, you're not asked to be perfect. You're just asked to be better, forgive others, and grow. And so my path early was I've always kind of been committed. And then took a walk in times where I haven't been as committed as I should have been, but I've always had that drive inside of me to be there, and I don't know why. I mean, other than that experience of I knew what good people were, and I knew what bad people were, and I knew I wanted to do this instead.
So, what were some of the ways that you've strived to like bear fruit as you've developed? With kind of reaching out, giving back, or helping those around you come to God. Whether it be through your race program or through your company, what are some things that you kind of strive to do to incorporate that into those?
I don't always do this, but I think at first it's just to exemplify what be who you're trying to be. I try and do that in everyday life and run that through our company as respect for people and things that I think that God would call you to do. And the honest answer is back to I think giving people opportunities, and that means putting yourself in situations where and I've really been challenged by this, and I think we'll talk about it. But the past couple of years, I've really felt a charge to reach out to people and maybe be more intentional about helping them see those things that I think are so evident. But that's caused little things like we're going to get a Bible study group together for No Prep Kings on Friday mornings. Just little stuff that I wasn't doing before, that just trying to be more intentional about how do you use your time and sticking to the faith that we profess.
Awesome.
I don't know if I answered your question quite the right way, but
no, that's I don't think you could have answered it any better. That's
yeah. So now there's a photo that was on your Facebook that I grabbed. It's got you with two other guys that are praying, and I think you're at a no prep race. Are those kind of your prayer warriors that are there with you, or just kind of people that are on the team, or?
That picture, and I love that picture, was two guys where I think it's just before the semifinals. And we got to race Ryan Martin. I can't remember if it's right before or right after.
Right.
And you never want to draw Ryan Martin, right? These two guys I'd had a conversation with earlier, and it had turned into, hey, yeah, I'm a man of faith, so are you. Oh, okay. So we had that conversation. They came back by and they said, hey, man, can we just pray with you and pray for the race and safety and all that? So, yeah. So that's a picture of us doing that. And then we go on to win the race, beat Ryan Martin, beat Kai Kelly, win the race. So it's a pretty special moment to me. But those are two random guys. That's the only time I ever met them, and haven't seen them since.
It's amazing how God puts people into your life at a specific moment, when you need it. And sometimes you don't even realize that, you need it.
And David, one of them there, is a pastor, and we share notes now. And I say I haven't seen them since. I'm connected a little bit, but haven't seen them since.
Awesome.
Pretty crazy, huh?
Oh yeah, it is. It's crazy how that all works. So, how have you incorporated, Christ into your day to day as well as the race program? Is it just, is there something where, like, when you're at a race, is it something that you kind of make some sort of a intentional, we pray before each pass, or we, you know,
Melody, every time I buckle into the car,
mhm.
she's there to help me. She prays for me. You'll see that if you're there for sure, every time. But I've kind of run things to where I think you want people to see it in your life. I don't think you want to be running around yelling about it. And so maybe we don't make it as forward as we should. But it seems like every race I go to, I get in some conversation with someone who knows that or wants to know about it. And those times are neat. But the only time we really have prayer time is right as I'm sitting in that car getting ready.
That's cool. I mean, you make sure to, keep that, right there.
I mean, speaking of prayer and,
Yeah.
obviously that's to keep you safe, but, we're praying for others as well. And I think recently a lot of us have been praying for Wayne.
Yeah.
Do you have the last post that I saw was in January or maybe it was early. Do you have any updates for us? A little bit of background on that for those who don't know, but any updates would be great if you have that.
Yeah. I reached out to Wendy and told her we were going to do this and just asked, I don't know what she wanted to keep private, so I wanted to make sure that it was cleared with her. So I think everybody should understand that they're going through a very rough time in a family. Wayne's my teammate. Bigger than that though, Wayne is just a good dude. I mean, of all the nice people you could meet, Wayne is a very nice person. Respectful, all the things that you'd say, this is a friend. Well, that's Wayne. And so here's the updates I can give is, I think he's on his 7th week in ICU. He's been on the ventilator for almost all of that. He's been up and down. He's fought off things that you would think, oh, this is going to be it. He's fighting. And then he has days where he's okay. He's one of the struggles you see with someone on COVID in his situation is if the organs start to shut down, then it's kind of headed the wrong direction. He's not had that yet. And I say, we're all praying that it doesn't happen. He's stayed pretty good. The other day had a little bit of a scare when he got a fever, which hadn't had yet. But he beat that back and he was still hanging in there. He was better yesterday than he was today. He just kind of is going through cycles, but for all the prayers and hope that's out there, Wayne's just a good person, and I think I'm praying that he comes out of this. I still believe he'll have a long recovery to get his health back, but he's still fighting.
I really appreciate that update. That means a lot, and I know it's hard to kind of talk about something that's not expressly yours, your battle, but we certainly appreciate that because we've been following it kind of on our end.
Well, I feel like it's mine to talk about partly because he's a teammate.
Mm-hmm. Well, and being teammates, you develop that relationship and the friendship, and in all honesty, I think, when you develop those friendships, outside of where, every day to day, I think they continue to carry on. So.
Yeah.
Well, again, there's also, you have more connection with some people than you do others. And Wayne's one of those guys that nobody doesn't like Wayne. He's got, and here's what you don't see on TV, and it's unfortunate, is the guy's quick with one-liners. I mean, he's a pretty sharp guy, and it's just, it's one of the, I really feel saddened that he's going through what he's going through, and so I want everyone out there to wish him the best and pray for him, and I encourage that.
Certainly will. And I don't mean to cast kind of a dark shadow on our conversation today, but I don't think it is. I think we're all rooting for him, doing everything we can from our chair. So thanks again for talking about that. I would like to.
I don't think it's a dark shadow. I really don't. I mean, he it's something that everyone is interested in, and rightfully so, and that's great. But he's, it is, I guess it's not a positive subject, but on the other hand,
it's something that we're all kind of, we want to do everything we can. Because I mean, it's so many, we've seen it over the past year and a half. I mean, everyone knows someone that's been affected by this disease now. So it's it can be stressful, and people coming together really helps. So I encourage everyone to, do what you can to those that that, might be recovering this or working through this, or may have even had a dark shadow cast on them. So I would like to shift gears to more of a positive note as we kind of round out the hour.
Yeah.
Sure.
We are we're a Tri-5 talk. We love Tri-5s. So I'm a 55 guy. Daniel's a 55 guy. We got some other guys. Have you ever had or considered getting a Tri-5?
Oh, here we get a great story. So my dad had a 57 Chevy convertible when he was a young man.
Okay.
And so he loved those. I don't know if that's just how it was, but now I'm going to tell you the story that you might get that may not make you quite as happy, but go back to the Pontiac thing. He also had a 57 Pontiac.
Okay. Hey, that's all right.
And he said the 57 Pontiac was a way better car than the 57 Chevy, and he never bought another Chevy. So there's my Tri-5 experience of listening to my father, and I haven't owned one. I appreciate them. I grew up, talk about a small town and all that. I loved all motorsports. If it was on TV and they were running an engine, like I was glued to the set. NASCAR didn't matter. I remember the Donnie Allisons and Cale Yarboroughs and all that kind of stuff, clear to Formula One when those guys were running it, and Indy cars with I can't remember some of the names, but I just loved everything. And so if it had an engine, I loved it. So I appreciate the cars. I appreciate what they are. Certainly the history of those guys that grew up in the 50s and 60s, man, they don't know how good they had it. So great cars.
Awesome. So at that point, it's kind of, you probably would never own another 5, 6, 7 at this point.
I think if I went to buy one, in all honesty, I'd probably buy a 55. I like the more subtlety. My buddy Chuck has one, Chuck Parker, Chuck 55.
Right.
Love his car. So that's one I would buy.
The most important decision to make is actually whether you prefer a post or a hard top.
Yeah.
This is important.
Is it?
Yeah, this is.
You tell me the difference between the two. I know what I'm going to pick. So what's the difference?
Well, the difference is a post.
Yeah, I know the difference between them technically, but when you say why is it a big decision? Is there something where, like, if you're this, then you're that kind of guy. If you're that kind of guy, something like that, or
it's just a hotly contested topic among the subculture here.
Yeah. So, and the
difference is a post is better, but
yeah, post is better. And you, Robin, you and I kind of come, from the racing aspect. A post, it's a stiffer body, so it provides more rigidity. So in the racing aspect, I mean, I feel that's more sought after, but there again, as hard top, supposedly they've got better style, but I don't know. I mean,
I was going to say I would definitely take a post. And for that same reason, I think the doors close better. It just seemed to be a better car.
All right. Awesome.
That's what we came here for tonight.
Yeah. That's what we came here for.
Tally onto the post column.
That question.
Well,
that's who you are. I like it.
So then what's your favorite car, whether it's something you've owned or something that, you're seeking after, like a dream car?
Oh, I talk about this subject all day. My favorite car is still my Trans Am.
Okay.
And it really has to do with the fact that, that was at a time when, like, I built that car. I brought it home sat behind the shed at my dad's house. I towed it out to Arizona. Me and a couple friends in our garage did everything to that car. 4-linked it, cut the frame rails out, 4-linked it, everything that we did to where it ran, 8.0s at 175 on little tire and all that kind of stuff. And every part that we built into that car, we did ourselves. I painted it. I put a quarter on it. I bought a 78 Trans Am that sat in someone's backyard for $50 in Phoenix that had no rust, brought it home, took all the parts off of that car, put them on this car because it was a rusty Kansas car. It's just the one that I put all the effort and work and time into, and it was a huge passion. Now, when I told you it took 5 years off, the truth is part of it was the transition to cars from then, early 2000s, late 90s to now was, you can't look at a car like mine or the new one and think, I'm going to build me one of those. If you are not a professional, you are not building that car.
All right.
And so half of the fun to me was building the car. And so with half of the fun gone, like I just thought, well, if half the fun's gone, what's the big deal? I like to build the car. Well, then you grow and realize how much tuning and effort there is. And that becomes a science that then is a lot of fun to me too. So now the tuning and the aspects of what we do, I know I can't build the car anymore. You just can't. But the tuning components of it, the driving and all this brought the challenge to it to where it brought that fun back. But that Trans Am will always be, that's the one they'll bury me in. I'm rebuilding it back right now with some super fancy stuff. It's going to be the fastest small tire driving car out there. That's just how it's going to be. It's going to have
Fastest small tire Pontiac power.
Yeah, it'll be badass. It'll be badass for sure. We've got a lot of neat stuff for it, and so when it's done, it'll be pretty impressive, and we'll still be able to drive it to the movies or have dinner or whatever, and have passenger seat. It's just going to be stuff like that with it. So that's the car. Now, if you said what's your dream car, I've been fortunate enough to buy a few along the way and do some things, but I'll tell you, and it's not going to be a surprise, but maybe by my personality it would be. But I have a friend in Vegas who has a Ferrari, and if you have not driven a late model Ferrari with all of the stuff on it, you are missing out. Like, just goofing off, he took this car down their neighborhood road 100 miles an hour over a speed bump that would have thrown any other car into the rocks, and it just went boom, right over it. You never even notice it.
Do we have a road racing career coming up?
Yeah, he's a $300,000 car, but that's like, he lives it. I do pretty well, but he's like at this different level. So that is a fantastic automobile that you just be fun to own one, maybe goof around with it and then sell it again.
Oh, you'll be road racing next thing we know it and winning races.
Yeah, I'll be doing that too. I mean, and it's just a different style of fun, right? But
right.
I mean, I had a Challenger Hellcat. I've had, I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of cool ass cars, but yeah.
Did you ever consider running kind of a late model car, kind of like a drag week build?
We have, and I thought about doing that a lot. And then you get to looking at, so I love the street races for Street Outlaws. I love that event. I love street racing. That's my real passion. And No Prep Kings. So by the time you say, hey, we're going to do one of these street race filmings and we're going to do every No Prep Kings this year, well, where's the time? Like, I don't know if I can take it. The preparation would take, and then the week to go on the road that you'd have to do for drag week. I honestly have to spend time with grandkids and fishing and the church stuff that we do, and it's just too much of a stretch. So, and I'll actually, you just saw that. So, we were invited to go to the top 20 list or whatever they're doing now. And I had to sit down. I just didn't have the time. I just did not have the time. It was end of the year for business. We already have vacations planned. I've got, it was supposed to first been over Christmas when all the grandkids and family, I just couldn't do it. So
I think that's a reasonable concession for as much as you have going on. So.
Right. Hey, it's life, life catches up to you, and I'm not as young as I used to be. That's the other thing, like, I had to learn. We talk about learning process, and I forgot to throw this in. Here's what I had to learn in going to these races, particularly No Prep Kings. Like, I love working on the car. So I'd be up working on the car till 3, 4 in the morning, getting it ready, and then try and get up the next morning, be ready to race, tired. And I realized that it hurt me as a driver. Like, I'm not 35 anymore where you could do that.
You're not the spring chicken that you were when you were.
Right. So coming to my own, coming to the reality that I'm no longer a spring chicken, and it was making me tired. I started bringing crew and Alan. I said, Alan, man, you and Brian, you just got it, and Butch and Jeremy Rainey, you guys just got to take over most of the mechanical stuff. I'll help. I like doing it, but man, at midnight I turn into a pumpkin, because I'm going to go in there and get some sleep so I'm ready to be a good driver, because I got to do my part. And
well, yeah, that's important, that you do your part, and, you got a good crew to help you,
That was a big realization on my part, and putting that team together that could, it was fantastic to be able to do that with friends, and they work for me and they're friends. And it just made the world a difference.
Just kind of allocating that overhead among more people.
Yeah, there's a lot of work. I mean, you think when you show up, you go to one of these races and you see us, if you see a No Prep Kings and you go there, you don't understand how much preparation, time, effort, maintenance in between that is done. It is a load of work. And so, and then at the track to get ready and do all the things you got to do, it is intense. And then if you break something, it's then, twice as intense.
Yeah.
So anyway, I always seem to break something.
Well, and that's what happens, racing, things break. So,
Right.
Where are we going to see you next on TV?
Well, I'll be on there in a few weeks. So there were some filmings done before No Prep Kings of this season that will explain a few things that people goad me about. I say goad me. I think there's a group on the internet that just loves to be jackasses. And so
there's been a few comments here as I made the posts here yesterday and today, people that were hollering that, about Brandon James and missing the scales and whatnot. So.
Yeah. So those are easy, I've answered it 100 times, but it kind of looks like this. So what you have to realize about a reality TV show is that their role is to hook you emotionally, and they only have so much time. So they can't show everything that goes on. So if they can't show everything that goes on, what are they going to show? The most emotional component of everything. And then, if it's something that diffuses the emotional component, they're not going to show that. So Brandon and I shook hands that we wouldn't jump. He jumped, his engine blew up. They didn't show his engine blowing up. They didn't show us shaking hands. He's waiting at the back of the scales when I pull up. He we wave over, he comes over, we talk. And the first thing is, are you broken? Yes. Can you go on? No. I said, well, then let's talk. So we had a conversation, and I said something very stupid. I overstepped my skis, and because I was a little hot about it, and I shouldn't have been, but I'm emotional and passionate about the sport. So I kind of,
well, you got to be in the racing. I mean, emotional and passionate, that's your drive. That's who you are.
Yeah. So
and there's no one there to stop you from being, they want you to be emotional. There's no
Well, and understanding who you are. Like, I was rude to the kid, and he's not a kid. Brandon James, 28 years old, right? I mean, this is not a kid. He's a young man. He's a good young man. And I was rude to him, and people remember, and this is people too, right? They remember negative. You can do 100 things positive. Like, I've been on the show 3 years. I've always had a very positive thing, You do one thing, people cannot let go of the one negative. It is what it is. You move forward, you just keep doing what you got to do, and that's all right. So the other thing that I catch some flack about is not being with the 405 anymore. And this show that's upcoming is going to show that. It's going to be, all this happened before No Prep Kings, and I also think, even in that instance, like you'll see me, and if you watch this season, you saw a couple instances where I said something like, well, I want to beat the 405. And I did say that right after I said, hey, I love those guys. I wish them the best. I needed to move on and do something different. We're still friends, and now it's time to kick their ass. Well, the only thing that made TV was it's time to kick their ass. And so, everybody's like, why are you so mad at him? I'm not. Why do you think I'm even mad at him? Then I'll go home and watch it because I don't watch the shows when they come out on Monday night. I'll like a week later or something, I'll bring it up on DVR when I have time and watch it. And it's like, oh, well, that's why they think I'm mad. But I'm not mad. They just, they can't put words in your mouth, but they can take some out. And I don't think it's done dastardly. I think it's just, again, to keep an emotional level up, to keep the rivalries up. I mean, that's kind of makes people interested. But the other part is, they're trying to take 32 racers and show every race of No Prep Kings, and they do. And there's just not enough time. So what do they chop out? The things that are nice. If I run up to someone and hug them, hey, man, I love you, never makes TV. If I run up to someone, I'm going to whoop out there. That's for sure making TV.
That sucks though, because I feel like I don't know. I'm sure people understand that everyone there's good folks. And that everyone like thinks that if you just watch the show, like, well, you guys fight all the time. No, you had 200 hours of film condensed to 2 hours. With the amount of effort and investment that goes into these, I mean, it's everyone is respectful and kind of there's honor. There's a code of honor among people at that level, I'm sure. Yeah. So
there is, and that's back to getting emotional when that code of honor is broken, right? And so that's what you'll see in this upcoming race. We went into the race where the code of honor had been broken. We went in there negative from the start. It was a this from the start, and it just queued up from there. And I don't know how they're going to show up, but it'll probably be ugly. They'll probably make me look ugly. That's just how
was anyone throwing helmets?
I threw shoes.
That's okay. Getting there.
And, I was pissy about losing.
Throw something SFI.
Yeah. Were they Chiefs shoes from hanging in JJ's car?
No, they were mine from racing. It's here's something I can say that's honest, and I'm not proud of it necessarily, but it's something that maybe I'm growing to overcome. Right? I am not a good loser. Like I don't like to lose. I'm not happy about it. When I lose, I need like 5 minutes to go sit by myself and just kind of like.
But is anybody really a good loser?
Well, it's one thing I think to not be happy about it, and I'm not happy about it. But I think it's another to be respectful about it. And I always try to be respectful. But there are times when, like in this case, what you're going to see, there's so much emotional buildup over a few days. That when it went, and a bit of a, something happened that I didn't think should have happened, but I let it happen because I was trying to be a nice guy, and then it comes back to burn you and the whole deal. And so, and I was very frustrated about it. So
I think it's a loss. I mean, it's also circumstantial, it's losing based on circumstances is something to take into consideration. If it was fair and square, a lot of people can take a loss like that. If there were some things that need to get out there that maybe, affected that loss, I think that's all the more reason to be kind of heated about it.
Yeah, and that's a great statement, because if it wasn't for the way the circumstances were, I wouldn't have been so heated. And the truth is, I wasn't heated to anybody else. I was over at my trailer throwing my shoes. I wasn't throwing them at somebody or in front of them or cursing them. I just mad about the circumstance, not anybody else. So I'm curious how they'll show that.
So you don't know what they're gonna.
No, you never know.
Or anything.
Yeah, no, that's what's crazy too. Like, you don't even know what will be shown or what won't, or what they caught on camera or what they didn't. And so, but I think that one, it'll be an interesting show for a lot of people, and there'll be some footage that make me look like a bit of a jerk. And the truth is, sometimes I am.
Well, we know you're not, though. We've had you on here for an hour and 20 minutes here, just having a great time. But I think we are running a little bit rich on time right now.
We're running a little bit fast.
You're not hurry, but you.
But we certainly appreciate you coming on. I mean, Tri-5 or not, we're happy to have you here. It's honorary Tri-5 mobster with us.
I'll go with that.
But if there's anything else, anything else, any parting words, final comments, let us know. Any words of inspiration, and then we'll sign out for today.
No, I just appreciate you guys. I appreciate anyone who loves the sport. If you have a passion for the sport and a passion for cars and stuff, then to me it just feels like a brotherhood. And so, appreciate your time and thanks for having me on. I wish you guys all the best.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate you being on with us, and I definitely, at a future date and time, I'd love to have you on again. We really enjoyed talking to you, and there's so many subjects that we, haven't even gotten to touch on. I mean, there's so much more, that's involved with, whether it's racing or family or whatnot.
Yeah, like the new car that no one knows anything about. So
yeah, the new car.
Yeah. Hey, I don't mind after it's up and going. If you want to have me on again, we'll for sure do it.
Yes, definitely have you back on at that point in time. So with that being said, this evening, I really want to thank everybody for joining and tuning in, watching. I want to thank my co-host, Joe. And we missed out on Joey and Craig. They had other family issues at home. And also, Robin, I really want to thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to us.
Luke, you're welcome. Sorry, they just turn the grandkids loose. Must have heard you closing down. So,
oh,
thanks, guys. We got
give it up
all
to
right.
Scott. Give it up.
Thank
to Scott
you very much
in the background.
Oh yes, and I also want to throw a big thank you out there for Scott for helping us out with our new setup here this week and kind of hanging around, doing a little bit of background work, making sure everything runs well. So, thank you very much, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
See you.
Thank you. All right.
Thanks for tuning in to Try 5 Talk with your hosts
Stream
Daniel
stop.
Check, Craig Westpenning, Joey Truelove, and a special thank you for our background designer Chad Reynolds, and a special thank you as well for our production analyst Joe Miller. Thank you for watching, and we will catch you next time.